first entering a patient room. Hello, Mr. Blank. My name is Trisha. I'm with Respiratory Care, and today I'm going to show you how we are going to change out this tank. The staff alerted me that it's getting low on air, so I'm just going to show you a few safety features and how we can change a tank that's running low on air to a tank that is full. So first of all, I just want to show you with this particular tank, we know it is oxygen because it is green. It is also labeled with a sticker here on the front. There are a bunch of markings on here. These markings represent manufacturer, our DOT specifications. These are pertinent to us, as well as the cylinder class, which is what the actual cylinder type of material it is made of. So this particular one has a direct cylinder valve, which just means it will take this specific key and only this key will match it to open this device. So let me show you how we're gonna look at this. Here is the valve on the top that shows you how many milliliters of pressure or liters of pressure there is within the tank. And then your knob at the top, they've been setting that at 2 liters for you. That's what the doctor's ordered for you. We've gotten that 2 liters of oxygen that you have through that nasal cannula there. This little tip on the end is where you hook that tubing. So when you've gone for walks, you see them connect that tubing to the end of that. So I'm going to show you here. Right now it's off. We know that because if we dial the cylinder or we dial the valve 468, you don't hear anything out of that actual cylinder. So I'm going to make sure it's at 0. We're going to put that key on top here and we're going to twist it to open. You twist to open, so I do see it's just above the 500 PSI. We always want to change tanks out when they reach the 500 PSI, just so that we are ensure we have enough air if you're going to be going to do something. So you show that's at 500, and let me just show you, if we turn this, there's a half a liter, 1 liter, 2 liters, you can hear that air coming out of the side there. So I'm going to again turn that back to 0, and we're going to turn this one off. So if we twist it the opposite way of, or actually the opposite way of the way we turned it on, get that nice and tight, and we're going to make sure that that's tight and sealed by turning this knob here up to a high liter set, and it'll bleed all that pressure out of this little area right here. So you hear there's nothing coming out, it's turned all the way off, back to 0. We always like to leave that at 0. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this little regulator off. They all have certain regulators. This one is attached with the pin index safety system, meaning there's only certain features on this that will fit this particular tank. You cannot put a regulator that's not intended for oxygen on this type of tank. So this one I use the key as well to loosen. Just going to get that as loose as we can here. Lift that right up. And as you see, there's 2 little pins on the inside. With this particular tank, if we turn that, those pins go right inside there. So I'm going to place this regulator right over here with the key, and I'm going to go return this tank. This tank goes into a cylinder rack. Each of the cylinders have their own particular area. They're away from each other so that they're upright, that they don't fall over, they're not rolling around. We want to be as safe as possible around these tanks. So I'm going to remove this tank and go get a full tank for you, so I will be right back. I'm going to lift this tank up and out very carefully, keep it upright at all times, make sure I have it secure. I'll be back in one moment. Hello, Mr. Blank. I've returned. I have my full tank here. Again, we want to make sure it's always upright and we don't let this fall on its side or knock it over. We're going to place it down into this another safety mechanism, this little truck here that we call to carry that. So that there again, we have a green tank for oxygen. We have it sealed, so we are going to break that seal off here. And we notice those 2 pins. So I'm going to turn that to the side so that we can get the regulator, the flow leader, and the meter on the front to be able to read that. So you'll notice here another safety mechanism is this little washer. This little washer is going to go right inside here so we can get a good seal so that air does not leak out around the outside of that. I'm gonna place this right over top. Make sure those pins are in that right groove there. My goodness, there we go. Okay, so I felt those pins go in. I'm just gonna turn that as far as I can with my hand strength here, which sometimes females don't have as much strength as the males. Grab my little wrench, and I wanna tighten this up a little bit so it's nice and tight. You know what, one thing I did forget, I'm glad I forgot that so I can show you. Loosen this again. One thing we always wanna do before we put this on, take this back off here. I want to crack my tank, or crack my seal is what they call it. We want to blow any air, dust particles, anything like that out of there so that when you turn this on, that doesn't come into your tubing for you. So I'm going to let everyone know I'm going to crack the tank. It makes a very loud noise. I don't want to face that. So very, very quickly, we are going to crack that tank. Just a little turn back and right back off. Cracking the tank. Seal that back up. And we're going to put that washer back in place. Tricky sometimes keeping that washer in place there. Get those pins back in place. You'll feel that seal up here. Tighten it as much as I can with my hands, and before I fully tighten it, I'm just going to turn it on again to see if I hear any leaks. It is set at 0. Turn it on. I don't hear any leaks coming through, so we're good. If it was not sealed correctly, it would leak out and you would hear that noise. So I'm going to seal that. Tighten this even further. We want that nice and tight. You're moving around and doing things. Okay. The other thing we're going to do, turn it back on. And I'm going to set your flow 2 liters per minute right there at 2. Put your finger over top of that. You can kind of feel that air. You can hear that air coming out. Always going to turn it right back off. This is, again, is where you would connect your tubing to connect to your nasal cannula. And then we're going to close it again. Anytime we're not using it, we want it closed. We want the liters off. Then again, we're going to bleed out that pressure that's built up in here. So just make sure that's closed. And there we go. We are set at 6 and there's no air, so we know that that pressure is out of there. Okay, so with your previous tank, like I said, we change it at 500. We have a calculation that we do sometimes so that we kind of know minute-wise. So we would have your 500 PSI. We would take that times 0.28, which is the cylinder factor for this particular size of cylinder, and divide it by 2 because you were doing 2 liters per minute with that nasal cannula. If the calculations are correct, it would be about 70 minutes or just over an hour. Like I said, if you're going to go somewhere, taking this along with you, we're gonna make sure you have enough of that air to last you the entire time. So that's that recommendation, to always change it at that 500. So I think I have shown you everything. The other thing I'm going to do, if you want to follow me, I'm just going to show you how to use that regulator within the wall, where you've had your nasal cannula attached thus far. So right out here, right along the wall here, I'm going to flip it around. Not very tech savvy, so let's go around this way. This right here, this is our Borden flow meter. So our Borden flow meter goes directly into our wall oxygen outlet. Again, green. We just push this right into that wall outlet. If I can get my right angle, let's come around this side. Sorry guys, this isn't the best quality here. Okay, and then we just push it right into that outlet. And again, we want to listen. We don't hear any air leaking. Make sure we turn the liters on here. My goodness. And I think I might have a broken flow. That flow meter is not working correctly. So that means we have a broken flow meter. if this were a flow meter that was working, it was working just a few moments ago. I don't hear any air leakage. There must be something within the valve that's inside. I don't hear anything when I turn it. Typically, if I would turn it, the bulb would float. That is a compensated tubing. That just means that it's gonna keep that pressure, so anytime there's pressure going, it's gonna float that ball. Once we release the pressure, turn it to off, it would fall back down. So that is our Borden flow meter. Unfortunately, not working correctly. I don't hear anything when I'm turning that, so. All right, thank you. Sorry it was so bad.